Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Jack. I've got a bit of a new look here on the channel, if you missed it, but the same great tech videos. And today is pretty exciting. I am no stranger to mobile lenses. I love using them when I'm shooting on the go. And ShiftCam have sent me an early look at their brand new lens collection called the LensUltra Series. I've been testing them out and I've got some pretty incredible shots for you to see. So make sure that you comment below and tell me what your favorites are. This set includes 7 lenses, 2 macros, a telephoto, a wide, a fisheye, and 2 anamorphics, along with 2 filters that can be mounted to your phone or directly to most of the lenses in the set. Now this has all just launched on Kickstarter today, so I'll link to it below so you can get all of the details, but I want to show you how these lenses work and what they can do. And just to say, these are pre-production samples, they are not the final product, and this here is a press kit, but they're all laid out so nicely with the labels, so I just had to show it. But I am already just kind of blown away by them. These are by far the sharpest and clearest lenses that I've used on the 14 Pro Max so far. And this is not a sponsored video either, so I am free to say whatever I like. Now I have talked a lot about mobile lenses here on the channel before, but for anyone new, you might be wondering, what's even the point of them when lots of flagship smartphones have multiple cameras on the back with various different focal lengths? But not all of those cameras are equal. Generally speaking, the main camera on any phone is typically the one with the biggest sensor and the widest aperture and the best low light performance. And in some cases, it's the one with the highest resolution. The main camera on the 14 Pros can shoot at 48 megapixels in ProRAW versus 12 on all the others. So mounting a wide, a telephoto, a macro lens over the main camera lets you take advantage of all of those better qualities with high resolution, less noisy images. And for some phones, they might only have just 1 or 2 cameras, so using something like a telephoto lens lets you basically add that functionality to your phone that you might not otherwise have. Some lenses can bring totally new ways to shoot, like a fisheye, which is far wider than any of the built-in cameras on an iPhone, or an anamorphic that gives you this super cinematic wide aspect ratio with black bars and lens flares and that squashed bokeh blur. Phone cameras are getting pretty crazy good now, and it's the camera that we always have with us, and I kind of can't believe some of the shots that I've managed to capture with these, so just wait and see. To mount the lenses, ShiftCam's made cases for the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, as well as for some older iPhones. And they said they're working on a universal mount to work with pretty much any other smartphone, like from Samsung, Pixel, Huawei, and more. The case is MagSafe compatible. It has a ring of magnets in the back for using with all of your favourite MagSafe accessories. And over the cameras, there's a metal plate with 2 screw-on mount points over the main camera and telephoto. Once you find the thread, the lenses just screw on into place, and they feel nice and secure. They're not going anywhere. These lenses are all constructed from metal and fluorite, interestingly, which offers higher clarity than what's traditionally used in mobile lenses. They feel really premium and well built with a nice weight to them. And they are bigger than some of the other lenses we've looked at on the channel, but some of those lenses are a few years old now. They were made for phones with much smaller cameras and sensors. And I have just been blown away by the clarity and detail. These are the sharpest lenses that I've used on the 14 Pro yet, and just the most complete set of lenses that cover pretty much every situation that you might want to shoot in. And again, just to say, these are pre-production samples, but I'm already legit so impressed with them, so let's take a look. So these 7 lenses can basically be divided into 2 groups. You've got lenses for zooming in, that's the 2 macros and the tele, and lenses for zooming out with the wide angle, fisheye, and both the anamorphics. But let's start first with the lenses for zooming in. This is the 10x macro. It comes with a removable diffuser, and this lens is insane. You can get so close to a subject. I love using this for nature shots or for capturing textures, and I've looked at macros on the iPhone before, but this lens is by far the cleanest and clearest that I've seen. This lens gives you a 10x magnification over the main camera. The iPhone has had a pretty good built-in macro mode using the ultra-wide camera for a while now. But comparing the two, you get this really nice soft background blur on the LensUltra macro that really draws you in. And you get so much more detail from the main camera. I mean, seriously, just look at the clarity here on all of the water droplets on the leaves. These are 48 megapixel stills captured on the 14 Pro Max. So I can zoom right in even further, and I am just kind of blown away by the quality here. Cropping in, you can see the noise on the petals from the native macro mode, which you just don't get from the main camera using the 10x macro. And I am going to be saying this a lot about these lenses, but I think they still speak for themselves. You can even use it for video too, to get creative with some macro videography if you've got a steady hand. Plus the macro can be mounted over the telecamera too to get you even closer still, far closer than the built-in macro mode. I captured these handheld, but you might want to use a tripod at this level of magnification, as the slightest movements can get magnified too. Now ShiftCam also has a second macro in the LensUltra Series. This is the 75mm long range macro. And this lets you capture those up-close shots without having to physically get as close as you do with the 10x macro. And this is the first mobile macro lens that I've seen like this before, but what I love about this lens is you can widen the frame to see a bit more of the subject while still capturing all of those details, all of those textures with that super shallow depth of field that really draws you into the image. I love this shot of the splintered wood. You can even see the individual strands of silk. Once more, these are 48 megapixel stills shot on the main camera of a 14 Pro Max, so you've still got lots of scope to zoom in and reframe while still keeping all of that clarity. Again, you can mount over the tele camera to get even closer, so you've got that versatility when shooting. And I find the long range macro easier for shooting video with, as you don't have to get as close to the subject, and you just have a wider frame to work with while still keeping things steady. But yeah, amazing results from both the macros. You can easily capture wallpaper-worthy shots like these that are just ready to go. Next up, this is the 60mm telephoto, and this lens is all about getting closer to a subject that's off in the distance. I love using this for these kinds of architectural shots, capturing shapes and lines in buildings. Mounted over the main camera, this gets you about a 2x zoom level, which fits nicely between the 1x main camera and the 3x tele camera on a 14 Pro. The 14 Pros do actually have a built-in 2x option, but this works by cropping into the 48 megapixel photo, giving you a 12 megapixel image, which reduces quality. But if we crop in, we can see all of the noise on the glass on the 2x crop and the sort of jagged lines on the window frame versus the shot from the 60mm tele, which just looks so much cleaner. The main camera on the 14 Pro already has a really nice shallow depth of field from that big sensor, and with the 60mm tele, that just gets enhanced. You can get some amazing stills when shooting closer subjects. These kind of look like they were captured on a full frame camera with that background blur, but no, it's just an iPhone and a mobile lens. Same goes for video too. I shot this in Filmic Pro, so I had manual focus control. And yeah, you just get this really nice shallow depth of field when focusing on something close. And yes, you can mount this over the 3x tele camera to get even closer, and here's how they both compare. This now gives you the equivalent of a 6x optical zoom on the 14 Pro versus the main camera, which is honestly pretty impressive. So the macros and the tele have you covered for getting closer to a subject. Now let's look at how you can widen the field of view. This is the 16mm wide angle, and in terms of wideness it sits nicely between the built-in 1x and the 0.5x. You can fit about twice as much in the frame as the standard main camera, but you can see here how the 1x and the 16mm mounted over the 1x both do a better job of capturing the details and the brightness in the trees and grass in the centre. This lens is great for just capturing wide landscapes and nature shots, exaggerating distances to make something look bigger or further away. Footage from it naturally looks quite smooth thanks to the wider field of view, and because it's mounted over that 48 megapixel sensor, you can capture so much extra detail versus the native ultra wide. Just really impressed by the overall clarity and quality when shooting with it. Then for capturing wider shots, ShiftCam has made this. This is the 200-degree fisheye. This is even wider than the built-in ultra wide, which has about a 120-degree field of view. Naturally, this means you do get a lot of distortion with this lens. I mean, it is a fisheye, but what's quite impressive is you still get really great edge-to-edge clarity. Everything still looks sharp and crisp, which isn't always the case with lenses like these. That extreme wideness gives it that kind of GoPro action camera look. It makes it great for capturing things like action sports or travel adventures, and for vlogging too. It's just so wide that when you're holding the back camera towards you, you don't have to worry about if you're in the frame or not, because you just will be. And I actually really like the distortion. You can get kind of creative with shooting in all these interesting angles or in really tight spaces, and you can still get really up close to a subject too, and kind of use this like a super wide macro lens, which is pretty cool. Then lastly for the lenses, ShiftCam has made these two anamorphics. And these are some of my absolute favourite to shoot with. They give you such a unique look, although they might look kind of strange and boxy if you've not seen or heard of anamorphics before. But in short, these use cylindrical lens elements to squeeze a wider image onto the camera sensor, giving you that super cinematic wide look with black bars at the top and bottom of the frame once the footage is de-squeezed. And they kind of curve and bend any straight lines in the scene, blurring the edges of the frame, and I just really like that film-like look. They can really make just about anything look cinematic, be it just a casual day out for a walk or a hike, or when you're out and about shooting around the city. I mean, this is just a shot of some pigeons, but it's probably the most cinematic looking shot of pigeons that you've ever seen shot on an iPhone. I just love the whole aesthetic from these lenses. I have so much fun shooting with them and playing with the framing. As I mentioned, there are two versions, a 1.33 and a 1.55. The difference being how much of a squeeze factor each one has and how wide the resulting image and aspect ratio is. Here is some standard 16:9 footage from the 14 Pro's 1x main camera. This is how the 1.33 anamorphic compares. It widens the frame with a 2.39 to 1 aspect ratio. And this is the 1.55, and this is even wider still with a 2.76 to 1 aspect ratio. And there are no dark edges or vignetting on either of these like I've seen on some other anamorphics on the 14 Pro. And while you absolutely can use these lenses for some cinematic stills, they definitely are more geared towards video. And you will need to use a third-party camera app to de-squeeze the footage in the preview and on the saved video files, unless you want to manually de-squeeze the footage yourself. And you might have noticed some of these really cool looking blue flares in some of these clips. You'll naturally get these from any bright lights that are in the shot. They give your footage a kind of sci-fi J.J. Abrams feel. And I found in my testing that for the best results, shoot over the main camera, as over the tele camera you do get a bit of a softer image. But I think these lenses are just great for experimenting with, maybe even shooting your own short films with. They can really give your iPhone footage a totally new look and feel that just isn't possible on the native cameras alone. Now, it doesn't just stop at lenses. ShiftCam has made two filters in the LensUltra Series, a variable ND and a circular polarizer. These can be mounted in a couple of different ways, either directly to some of the lenses like the long range macro, the telephoto and the wide angle. They also have a rectangular adapter for mounting to either of the anamorphics. And they've made another adapter for mounting directly to the phone case over the main or tele camera, which is great. The variable neutral density, or VND for short, is kind of like sunglasses for your camera. It reduces the amount of light passing through to the sensor on bright sunny days so you can shoot at slower shutter speeds, meaning that you can get more motion blur in your stills or footage, making it a lot less choppy and more natural to the eye. And this filter rotates and is variable in strength from 5 to 9 stops of light transmission. And then the circular polarizer, or CPL, also rotates, and this is used to remove or reduce any unwanted reflections from things like glass or water. Like this example, looking into the car, there's a lot of blue haze on the glass reflected from the sky, but as I rotate the filter, you can see a lot more clearly inside. And it's great that you can use these over the lenses as well. So that has been a look at ShiftCam's new LensUltra Series. As I said, these are pre-production samples, but I'm already just so impressed by the clarity of all these lenses. They have the best optical quality of any mobile lenses that I've tested on the 14 Pro Max so far, and they are continuing to tweak and improve them. They've already told me that they've made the MagSafe magnets even stronger in the case. There were a couple of times using the 60mm tele that I saw these very intense lens flares, and that's already been fixed for the final product. And they've said that the blurriness in the corner of the anamorphics has also been fixed too. And I have given some of my own feedback on how these can be made even better, like maybe adding a couple of extra holes to the case so you can attach a wrist or neck strap. The variable ND filter they made is fantastic for cutting light down on those bright sunny days, but it is a bit strong for morning, evening or cloudy days. So it'd be great to have a second filter with less strength for those conditions. And personally, I'd love to see gold flare versions of both the anamorphics to go alongside the existing blue flares. Gold flares give you a more natural, neutral look versus the more kind of sci-fi look of the blue flares, and they did seem open to that in future if there's demand for it. But overall, I'm just seriously impressed by the whole collection. I think the photos and videos just speak for themselves really. Drop a like if you agree. And if you're into shooting on the go or you want to level up your mobile photography, the complete set of lenses can give you whole new ways to shoot and take advantage of your phone's camera, especially with a 14 Pro and that 48 megapixel sensor. So head on over to the Kickstarter campaign, I've linked to it below, it is live right now. I think these are well worth checking out. I believe they're aiming to have them out as well by late May or early June. Let me know in the comments which lenses are your favourite. Thanks to ShiftCam for letting me take an early look at these, and to you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.